everybody.
Hey everybody. Welcome to What's Up Watchtower. I'm Robin.
I'm Mike.
And this is episode 50.
Yep.
The big 5-0.
The golden anniversary.
Yes.
Oh.
And, well, this is our 1-year anniversary of putting up our first video. So we just wanted to sort of commemorate that, celebrate that. And it's just been a very crazy year for us.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year for sure. We had no idea that we would have the kind of response that we've had to the videos. We had no idea that we would hear so many stories that are sad and horrible and similar. And we've made some really good friends from all over the world. Actually, it's been really awesome.
Yeah.
So.
And so just before we even get started into this video, I just want to acknowledge that yes, 49 was taken down, and I'm going to put 49 back up with just our initial content, and I'm going to kind of just explain why we took down 49. Had full intentions of showing the rest of that judicial hearing that was secretly recorded, and got through 2/3 of all of the subtitling that I was doing. But the young man felt like it was in his best interest to take it down, and so we respect his decision, and that's why we removed it. And but he's given us permission to put up the transcript. So when I finish the transcript, I will put that on What's Up Watchtower, make that available if you want to read how the rest of his judicial hearing went. And it's very interesting, you know, because we've had a chance to, and as probably most of you have had a chance to, now listen to many judicial hearings that have been secretly recorded.
Yeah.
And there are just similarities across the board. You know, they have a script, they have an outline, and they stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
By they, I mean the elders. They stick to it.
Yeah, and you can see the same common points and themes basically running through all of these secretly recorded meetings.
Yeah. So even when a good point is brought up, something that would make a normal person think, they refuse to answer questions. They refuse to think about, and they stick to their talking points, and it's extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
But you know, they're well trained on sticking to their script. So anyways, we'll make that available. We'll let you know when that's up on the website if you care to read.
Yeah. And you know, that's not the only instance lately that we've heard of some really unorthodox kind of treatment going on to young people who are now disfellowshipped and or disassociated. And so, you know, just hearing stories about what's going on, young people who are disassociating themselves but are still living at home with family, and just the way that their family has chosen to treat them is despicable. It's despicable.
It's really sad. You know, it remains to be seen how the response is going to be from families when more and more of these young people wake up, and hopefully they can help their families as well. You know, it's just a very interesting time. The Jehovah's Witnesses are definitely in the zeitgeist right now, across the, you know, all over the world, and it's an interesting time. It's an exciting time. You know, we don't want to see anything bad happening to Jehovah's Witnesses. I say bad. That's kind of hard to. It's like, what do you mean by bad? But we don't want to see them unfairly persecuted. And because we care about the children, obviously, and being raised in a cult is hard enough, much less if you're in a persecuted cult, which the cult is then going to go underground, and their activities will be harder to track and know about if they're underground. So,
do you just want to talk about the Russian ban thing? Because you're kind of talking about it, but we didn't say what we were talking about. Do you want to just talk about it?
It's pretty obvious that that's what we're talking about.
Well,
We've chosen to sort of stay like neutral for the most part about it, because people are very emotional about this subject. And I don't want to be emotional. I don't want to use my emotion about what I've seen and continue to see to be, to rule my thinking about it. And I think logically, from talking to a cult expert and also listening to a cult expert on various videos, you're not going to stop them. It's not going to do anything except accelerate what they already believe.
Yeah, well, here's my take on it. I see this as a huge distraction from what we got on YouTube to do.
Right.
That's why we haven't talked about it. That's why I don't really want to talk about it. To me, this is as divisive as abortion and gun control and legalizing drugs. We have no control over what happens in Russia.
No.
So as much as I may feel passionately one way or the other, I do not want to let myself be distracted from the job we started doing. And it's downheartening, to tell you the truth, to see a lot of the people that we look up to on YouTube fighting with each other. And, it's almost like our parents are fighting or something. It's downheartening, because we are supposed to be all after the same goal, but apparently, I don't know. I don't even want to get into the ins and outs of it.
I don't know. People maybe have lost sight of what our goal is, and they're getting caught up in minutia and maybe even in their egos. So that's just something that we kind of want to stay away from. And like Mike said, no matter what we might think about the ban, it's going to happen or not happen regardless of what we think and what we say.
And I also believe that the distraction on YouTube, I mean, if you go to YouTube now and look at the videos about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of them are talking about the Russian ban on Jehovah's Witnesses. And I get it, it's a hot topic. But I feel like that has now become a win for the Watchtower in a small way, because now, instead of, and I'm not saying people are stopping doing what they're doing, it's just been kind of a distraction that's been going on now for a while. And, if it stops us from tearing down a doctrine or proving a falsehood, or just gets us distracted in dealing with people instead of the organization, which is really what the problem is. The problem is the organization. I mean, we have family in there. We know that there are rotten apples in that bunch, but we also know that there are good people in there. And I'm really at the point, I mean, it is hard to listen to these elders meetings, but I understand that these men are completely brainwashed. And at some point, you've got to feel pity on them. They don't know that they're brainwashed. They don't know that what they're saying is crazy and illogical. I mean, I don't know the best way to handle it. It frustrates me to no end. I don't know if I'd be able to maintain my composure sitting in a committee meeting or something, but I do know that these people think they're doing the right thing, as crazy as that sounds.
I just wanted to add another point, looking at it, because really I've been trying to look at this from every angle, talking about the ban, the potential ban. And looking at it from the standpoint of, I still have family that are in the organization, and, we hear from so many people that are married to or have family that are in, and they're trying to figure out how they can help their families to wake up. And if a witness is curious about what the ex-witness community is thinking about the ban in Russia, and they click on some of these hateful videos, they're going to be turned off. And they're going to think, well, all apostates just, they're the ones that are behind trying to get them banned. They'll make a connection in their mind and think that somehow the apostates are behind this. And they're not going to be open to listening to any of our other videos that are exposing doctrine or exposing what's happening within the organization as far as the child abuse and what happened with the Australian Royal Commission. They're going to believe automatically this is just all apostate lies. They're going to be turned off, and if they might have had a chance of waking up, and I don't want to give them a reason to shut off the videos and not continue watching. So that's just sort of how I feel about it. And everybody obviously is entitled to their own opinion.
Yep.
And whatever, but that's how I feel about what we're doing with our channel. So that's probably as much as we're going to say about that.
Yeah, and just to close that issue up, the people who are on YouTube making videos constantly, we support and love you guys. Everyone who's been working so diligently. I've only actually been watching YouTube videos for maybe close to 2 years now. We've been making videos for 1 year, and it has been a great encouragement for me, and really very informative, because people like Mike and Kim they have a lot of contacts. They get a lot of the elders' letters and stuff. That information is like an amazing source to always be constantly updated for new things, and I love that. I think it's amazing, and when I see people that I like their videos have a new video up on YouTube, I'm really, I love it. So I want to see, obviously I want to see that continue as much as people are able, but I just, I do support the YouTube community despite the fact that there are a lot of differing opinions. I think that this is a little off topic for the whole community to be kind of going in one direction, but hey, I don't run things, so why would anybody listen to me?
Well, I guess it just depends on what your intention and what your goal is with making videos, and it's not going to be the same for everybody, but for us, we have a different focus. But speaking of which, very happy to be talking to more and more people who, and you'll know who you are, who are still in good standing within the organization and want to slowly fade out. And we're so glad to get to know some of you guys.
One of my Jehovah's Witness friends sent me a new Bible, so
count that as your placement.
So yeah, I got some literature. So I gotta tell you, it's off topic. Thank you so much for this, by the way. I hate this Bible. It's not your fault. The more and more I listen to the meetings, okay, so I found a couple of channels that stream live meetings during the week. So midweek meetings, the Sunday meetings and stuff. So a lot of times I'll just kind of listen to this stuff while I'm working, so I hear what are the themes of the meetings, what have they been talking about lately. And some of the scriptures that they look up, I remember them being a certain way. Certain scriptures that you would never forget. You've looked up 1,000,000 times.
Interesting.
They're different in this Bible. And it's not by much, but it's almost like it's been simplified from a 9th grade reading level to a 6th grade reading level. It's really oversimplified, and to me it sounds stupid. It's bad. It's really bad.
Well, anyways, so so lots of people who are awake and sitting in your congregations, and very interesting too, people that we've heard from or are hearing about that are coming back to the organization. And for you good indoctrinated Jehovah's Witnesses, and you are so happy that ones who were disfellowshipped or left are coming back to the truth. My friends, this is a ruse, because they're only doing it to reestablish contact with their families. And we hear this story on the Jehovah's Witness recovery groups. We hear about it in emails. We hear about it in various ways. And so don't think that people are coming back because they believe that it's the end times and that they're afraid of dying at Armageddon. They're coming back because they miss their families. And I can't blame them. I honestly can't blame them, because it is painful to be rejected by your family. It's very painful. And, I'm never coming back, so my family is going to have to decide at some point if this is going to be a forever thing. But it just makes me so sad to think, when you're on your deathbed, you good Jehovah's Witness, and your disassociated or disfellowship child may be there with you on your deathbed as you're taking your final breaths, and you've wasted all of those years. Is Watchtower holding your hand? What are they doing for you?
Stopping the doctors from giving you a blood transfusion?
Yeah, maybe. But are they going to mourn your passing? Are they going to mourn and think about all the years that were wasted? Is Watchtower going to give a crap about you once you're gone and you can't make more converts?
Even a more sobering thought. At your memorial service at the Kingdom Hall, no one will talk about you, about your life. No one will give stories or anecdotes. No one will tell tall tales and laugh. It will be used as a way to preach to other people who can be in attendance. And that's it. It's a tool of ministry. It's using people's grief to get new members, maybe outside family members who were never witnesses. And what kind of legacy do you leave behind? In the public talk, and I listened to this today, the public talk from Apopka, Florida. Hey, a congregation in Apopka, Florida. I'm watching your videos.
Shout out, Apopka!
So, yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's a Florida congregation that has a live feed that I watch. And the public talk was about using your time and using your life in this world wisely. And the guy that was giving the talk, it was just so ironic. It was like, so you go to college and you get a good paying job and you may have a wife and kids, and the kids go to college, and you retire and you've got money and you travel and stuff, and at the end of that, on your deathbed, you've wasted your life because you haven't served Jehovah God. And wouldn't it be such a waste to know that you didn't use your time serving Jehovah? I'm like, dude, sounds like his plan was awesome. It's so contradictory. Oh, I may have to do something and talk about that public talk, because it is so twisted, the way that they view how they're living their life versus how people in the world are living their lives. It's so twisted.
Well, that's just and they did say his name. I couldn't remember the secret recordings that Mike and Kim put up. They did say his name, Jonathan. So, welcome to your freedom. They called you Jonathan. And what the ministerial servant kept saying over and over, that was in the first visit, was how talking about athletes and how, oh, they had nothing to show for, all of the years that they put into athletics, and what do they have after that, and making it sound like they have wasted their life, like they must be devastated. Well, most athletes, after they retire from that career, they go on to another career, and usually those people do something to help other people. They use their fame, they use their influence, they use their resources to help other people. And usually it's young people. They, start foundations and things. So they make it seem like, all they were after was fame and fortune, and then they had nothing after that was, after their career was over.
Yeah.
That is just such a line of horse, what? I can't even take it. And it sounds like this brother was very, maybe he wanted to go into athletics and could never fulfill that dream because he became a witness.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like he was mourning what he didn't have. And he was the one that was actually depressed about his situation in life.
Yeah. That, I think the one thing I can say, and it's a generalization, but I think it's probably fairly accurate, is that when I look back to the witnesses that I know, they do not have the ability to have like self-reflection, to look back with clarity on a past circumstance or even on the present circumstance. Everything is so colored by their beliefs and so biased that it really makes it hard to even relate to them on a normal human level. And that's the one thing that is just really hard to see. People that are just spouting the words of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, they're automatons, they're robots now. They almost have no thoughts of their own except to repeat back what's in some Watchtower Awake article.
And I know because, we were at one point heavily indoctrinated and really believed it. And if you are a Jehovah's Witness watching this, you're going to think that we're making this up. You really aren't going to believe us. And I know that. I know that you're going to say, no, I think for myself. But truly, I promise you, and it's not just us, it's across the board, the thousands and thousands of people that we hear from, whether it's through YouTube, Facebook, emails, private messages, whatever it is, that they will all agree that once they got away from the daily, weekly indoctrination, that they started to realize that that their thoughts and the way they felt about things were different than the way the Watchtower feels about it. And the further you get away from it, the more you see that your thinking was completely colored by this organization. And I don't know how to convince you of that. And that thought is scary to Jehovah's Witnesses because they believe that means that Satan has infiltrated your thinking. But we don't feel that way, and neither do the thousands of people who have left.
And I think that is the other important thing. And we've talked about this in the past, we're going to talk about this in the future. The most important thing I have learned since leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses is how to really use my critical thinking ability and how to understand if an argument can be proven false or proven true. And it's not, a lot of this stuff is instinctual within us. We kind of get a vibe when somebody's telling us a lie. We're just too polite to say, hey, I think you're lying to me. It's just human nature. We have these natural instincts. And as Jehovah's Witnesses, we become gullible. We turn off those natural instincts that make you want to question if something is safe or if something is real or, whatever. And these type of, and if you're born in, your entire reality has been sculpted in such a way that just isn't true. So it's really a tricky thing to navigate. People are brainwashed, and it is just so hard to come to that realization that, yes, I was in a cult. Yes, I was brainwashed. I didn't realize I was brainwashed. And I can say that now, knowing that I was brainwashed. But doing research into understanding what that means has helped to clarify that.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you're under undue influence. And they have influenced every aspect of your thinking. And they tell you how to think about everything. And, there's a difference between what is written in their literature and the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses. Because we all know that there might not be something that is specifically outlined 100% how to think about something, but we know within the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses, we know how we're supposed to think about something. And the reason it's not outlined clearly is because of probably legal issues. They have to cover themselves so that they don't say something specifically, and they leave it up to a conscience matter. But you well know that anything that's left up to a conscience matter, all that has to happen is one person, it bothers their conscience, and you are told you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and it may be a person that complains to an elder, and you ask the elder, well, what is that brother or sister's name so I can go talk to that brother or sister? No, that's confidential. So one way or the other, it's going to be enforced upon you, whether there's a legitimate complaint or a complaint that is brought to you by an elder, which is probably their personal opinion wrapped in the name of someone else. So,
And that happens all the time. That happens all the time, that elders will come to someone with saying that someone was complaining about something, when in fact no one was, but it's just that elder's personal opinion about it. And so they can just keep saying, oh, it's confidential, it's confidential. And so maybe nobody was saying anything at all, but it's just his feeling about it.
When I just recently, I had kind of gone back, I was watching some old YouTube videos, and Mike and Kim were involved in a judicial, like it was an elders meeting at their house, and they were questioning her about a book that she had written, and the elder was like, well, a sister complained about this, and then it went from, a sister didn't complain, I overheard two sisters talking about it, and then it was like, well, I didn't hear anybody talking about it, I just knew that you had written it, and I went and bought it at Barnes & Noble or whatever. I mean, it was such a lie, and this is the kind of stuff that makes people crazy. People in the congregation. If somebody says something about a brother or sister, follow Bible principles. Allow that person to speak with the person whom they may have offended so they can gain their brother, And as much as they will tell you that's how it's done, that ain't how it's done. Because we still don't know who ratted us out, but there's been so many other things that we've talked to Robin's dad about. I've asked, well, actually, no, I haven't talked to my dad about all stuff, but no names. No names, confidentiality. That's crap.
Yeah.
Oh, well, off topic. I'm sorry. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating because we've experienced this when we were active witnesses and inactive witnesses. So, anyways, just the point is that it's getting away from it, that you start to see how you were controlled, to what extent you were controlled, that you didn't even realize. And that's why many people who are waking up and who are leaving say that they are sort of just discovering themselves and who they are. And, it's scary at first because your identity was completely wrapped up in the religion. And, some of these people still believe in God, and that's totally fine. They believe the Bible is the Word of God. That's, yay. Everybody's entitled to believe what they want to believe. We just say do the research. Do research and then make your decision. But, we're at 1 year making videos. And, in a few short weeks, it will have been a year since our families have spoken to us.
That's right.
And I just think that's really sad. I think it's really sad that they would allow an organization to tell them how to behave.
Yeah, and they would say it was your choice to have us not talk to you because you left.
It's not our choice. We don't want that.
Yeah, there is no real choice when it comes to that. There's no real choice.
And true, it was our choice to start making videos, but when you feel a fire burning inside of you that you have to share something with the world, you can't suppress that. And the longer you do try to suppress that, the sicker it makes you. And so the longer you try to suppress it, the harder it gets to suppress. When you know information,
Mm-hmm.
and that started for us with, I knew a lot of stuff, but when the Australian Royal Commission hearings happened, I just felt like I couldn't keep my mouth closed anymore about it, and that it was wrong to keep my mouth closed about it. And, finding out so many things. And
Well, since you brought up the Australian Royal Commission, let's kind of go over some of the major things that have happened in the last year. And just going along what you were just saying, it's like when you find out that someone you know personally was sexually assaulted by an elder, that puts a fire under your that can be a motivational factor for real. So, in the last year, as we started making videos, we saw the Australian Royal Commission come into full steam.
Yep.
A lot of people talking about that. That was a really good time on YouTube for JWs. We saw the video that Raymond Vargas took of the convicted child rapist, Wayman Ivory, out in field service in a neighborhood in Colorado. And that was really interesting because it made national news that a man who was convicted in a court of law of raping a child was caught on videotape working door to door in a residential neighborhood with their families and children. And I think that was the first time that was really brought to light, like a spotlight was shown on that topic. And that was pretty amazing. That got a lot of national attention. It was good. Then we have the witnesses moving out of New York. That happened in the last year. Now they're up in, they're in New York, but they're in
Warwick.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of big changes in the organization are happening too. It's...
Yeah, and since this is our 1 year anniversary of making videos, something else that's been very interesting, and we've mentioned it in another video, but I was actually visiting my family, and they didn't know that we were making videos. I was up there for a graduation, and Mike sent me, it had just hit YouTube, the bunker videos. He sent me a link to it.
Oh, that was while you were up there. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and my reaction when I watched the first one, I just teared up and cried. I said they're trying to instill so much fear into people. And this is just so sad. I was just blown away. I'm like, you know, is this going to wake people up, or is this going to make them more indoctrinated and more afraid? And for some, it did make them more afraid. But we've heard so many experiences of people who it was those videos that actually woke them up. And the shunning videos that they said, this cannot be God's organization.
Yeah.
This is so much fear, so much control, that they left or are in the process of leaving because of those videos. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to do anything.
I can't believe I didn't think of those videos immediately. That was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
As far as the JWs go. That it was crazy. Mm-hmm. The shunning video with the Sonia Erickson character, and she left, was out for 15 years, and that was bonkers. Yeah, the bunker videos were quite intense. I love the new drama videos with all the fake beards on all the guys, because no Jehovah's Witness is actually allowed to have a beard, so those look super realistic.
So anyways, that, you know, that was very interesting, you know, that thinking back, you know, that was almost a year ago when that all happened. And, you know, wondering how it was going to affect Jehovah's Witnesses. And we'll see if their numbers have gone up in the next yearbook. I highly doubt it. But I tell you one number that I think is going to continue to rise.
I think I know.
Yeah, I think the number that's going to continue to rise is those who partake at the memorial.
I know it went up by at least one.
I don't even know if I should talk about this.
Oh, talk about it.
I tell you, I mean, we still have connections, and, you know, it's not who you think it is, those of you that might know us, but we still have connections to this area and people in this area. Wow! To find out that someone I've known since I was a young teenager, who's only a couple years older than me, is now of the anointed. Now of the anointed.
Finally, a title that is suitable for him.
So, anyways, that number will be very interesting to see, because we know that in 2016 the number was over 17,000 partakers.
And actually, we've been hearing that the attendance at the memorial was low. From almost all the places I was able to check and see, it seemed like the meetings were not at capacity. Definitely not like they used to be.
Yeah, people were posting pictures of halls with empty rows. Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the memorial attendance is, and more interestingly, the partakers.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
How do they explain that? How do you explain that?
Mental illness. Scott.
I mean, how do the elders explain that to anyone?
Sorry, we had to feed Zoe. She was causing a ruckus for us. So my thought was, okay, you know, these older men serving as elders for years and years and years and years, and here comes a young guy who's claiming to be of the anointed. And that reminded me of Mark Sanderson, who, you know, he's
what, 55, I think. Something.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that old.
He's not that old, yeah.
Compared to, you know, some of the other guys serving. But the point is, you know, how do you feel, you older men who have been, you know, you're in your 70s and 80s, and you've been elders for more than half your life, and now these young whippersnappers are coming in, and they're going to be Jesus' brothers.
How do you feel about the brat kids that you used to have to counsel, now saying that they are of the anointed?
Oh, you must be displaying a lot of humility.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
And what's to stop anybody from partaking of any of the emblems, really, at all? There's basically been a meeting and talks about it and articles written that we don't know who's of the anointed, so if somebody partakes of the emblems, hey, that's between them and God. So,
again, they have to keep changing things because all of the failed prophecies. That number was supposed to have been sealed in 1931. So, anyways, I am looking forward to speaking to some of you, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It's gonna happen. The second year of What's Up Watchtower, we're going to have interviews. I'm really wanting to do that.
Yeah, you'll get a new computer, and we'll be able to have the capabilities.
Yeah,
to
I
do
mean,
these
I could
things.
put the camera on my computer, like Mike and Kim do, but I think because the processing speed of my computer is so bad that even on Skype, there's such a delay and it's not good quality. So I'm sort of a perfectionist in a lot of ways, and I just don't want to put something out there that's not up to my standards.
Yeah, that's one thing that you guys probably don't know. Robin does the editing for the videos, which you do know, but she is a perfectionist, man. She'll upload it and then re-upload it and re-upload it. This isn't right, that's not right, and upload it. And so when you guys get something, it's usually pretty solid. She
Well,
has
I do my best
through it again and again and again. So, yeah,
I do my best.
Yeah, just
I've learned a lot.
Just want to put out a good product that people will enjoy, and and to let people know, like we kind of started out originally. We would love to let current Jehovah's Witnesses know that yes, we are technically apostates because we no longer believe what the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, what their interpretation of the Bible is, but it doesn't mean we're bad people. And I think, as more and more witnesses kind of take that adventurous step to look onto YouTube, they'll realize that the people, the so-called apostates on YouTube, are really just people just like them, have the same cares and the same passions and the same concerns, and many of them have families. We're all the same. Mm-hmm. So I just know that that's going to be happening more and more this year. And to you guys who, if this is the first video of ours that you've seen, hey, welcome. We're just happy that you were able to take a look at this and allow yourself to watch something that is supposedly horrible, and we're not really horrible. So, oh well, it's just a thought. It's going to be happening more and more. It's going to be something I heard a friend of mine was talking to me about, and he's younger than I am. He's maybe about 26, and he was saying that younger generations, anybody our age, if you're out somewhere and somebody says, oh, such and such guy was in a movie, and you're like, nah, that wasn't this person, it was another person. All right, bam, internet, IMDb, look up the actor. That's what's happening with, the ministry, with Jehovah's Witnesses. When you meet people, if they have a question about Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to Google it, they're going to search the internet. And people who are younger, a younger generation, teenagers and stuff, it was told to me that when they have a question, instead of Googling something, they'll go to YouTube and search for it. So I have a feeling that maybe we have a lot of younger viewers, or maybe we'll be getting more younger viewers. But if that's the way the world is going, Watchtower Society has no chance of making it past the next generation or two, and that'll be it.
Yeah, it's it's falling apart so rapidly that they have to be really scared. And I just wanted to bring up one additional point that I was thinking about earlier, and I don't want to forget to say it. But our intention for making videos was to help people who were waking up and who didn't have maybe a network of support, and to encourage them to find that, and that it's going to get better, and that we've been there and we understand. And now we can show from a different perspective too, of being shunned and knowing what that feels like. But as the year has progressed, the reason why I want to make videos is for an additional reason, is to provide information to people who may not know what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, who may not know certain things that they, policies, procedures, practices, because I have sort of been blown away that people who I've known my whole life, who were not witnesses, never were, didn't know that witnesses shun. And I took that for granted, thinking that they knew what, that everybody knows Jehovah's Witnesses shun. And the thing that I've come to find out is that nobody knew. Nobody. That none of the people that I talk to, and like I've said before, I talk to everybody that I can and tell them about Jehovah's Witnesses and what they believe as far as the two-witness rule when it comes to child abuse, and how dangerous that is, and how they practice shunning even of their family members, similar to what Scientology does with disconnection. So I share all of these things with people because people don't know, and the world needs to know. They need to be educated, and I feel like that's what we're doing, is educating them to things that are harmful within the organization. And a lot of people do know about the blood transfusion. That is something that a lot of people know. But I've been educated over this past year about just how much they've flip-flopped, how much their policies, their doctrines about blood has changed, and basically been educated about why it doesn't hold up. Because even scholars, Jewish scholars, who know the rabbinic law code, the Mosaic law code, they know it so well, and they say they're shocked that Jehovah's Witnesses use the Mosaic law to be the reason why. And they said, don't they understand that has nothing to do with blood transfusions? Don't they understand that was specific to that situation, as far as viewing blood as sacred in a ceremonial way, but that any Jew would tell you, and I heard this from a Jewish person, that the most important thing is saving a life.
Yeah, life is sacred.
Life is sacred. And if that includes a blood transfusion, then that's what you do, because life is sacred. And then learning about blood fractions and how those are acceptable. And I mean, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, how do you make sense of any of that? That they can tell you what fractions are okay to take. What fractions of whole blood? How do you get fractions? You get it from whole blood. How do you get whole blood? Somebody donates it.
What's next? Are they going to tell you can't have your steak rare? Is that going to come down the pike next? I mean, at what point do you stop letting other people control your life?
And it's truly controlling your life, because just in the past year, we've seen news stories. Again, it's another thing that's happened in the past year. There have been news stories of people dying, young mothers.
Childbirth, yep.
Children, different ones that have popped up in the news that have died because of refusing a blood transfusion. And, now on the outside, we see it so differently than we did before. And we just see, these hospital liaison committee idiots that are pressuring people. Let people make up their own conscience. Stay away from them. If you want to go and encourage in the hospital, that's one thing. But being there as a pressure, and even stories of that they kept the non-witness family members in the dark and away from the hospital.
So as not to give any other pressure to the patient.
That
Yeah.
is, it's insidious, is what it is.
Even their presence there is all it may take for someone to allow that to sway them and lose their life.
Because if you are an indoctrinated witness, even if your conscience says, I feel that I can take a blood transfusion, but they tell you if you do that, then you are voluntarily disassociating yourself. So you're going to come out of the hospital with no network of support, because all the people you know, all your friends, maybe all your family are inside this organization, and now they have to shun you because you wanted to save your life because you felt your life was worth saving.
Yeah. There's always the loophole, though. If you take a blood transfusion and then you say you were under extreme emotional distress and you cry and you are really repentant according to what the elders view, because you're going to be in a meeting about it, you can get away with it. Theoretically, potentially. But it's a gamble.
Yeah.
I'd take that gamble. I'd rather live than have the elders like me. But it's just a shame, because we know too many stories of people who allowed a medical condition that was very treatable to kill them because of pressure from the Jehovah's Witness organization.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense to me how an organization can want dead followers instead of live ones. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. If there was a God, he wouldn't want you to do that. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't want his creation to die over something that he's obviously given medical science the knowledge to be able to fix problems, and medical science has allowed us to live 5 minutes longer. Thank you, Brother Let. It has allowed us to live more than 5 minutes longer.
Yes.
So, it's just crazy. I don't know where this organization is going. I don't know what they're thinking. I know that it's getting more and more extreme, that people feel that the end is ever nigh. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So many stories have come to our attention over the past year, including personal stories and, very tragic stories that people have shared with us because of what we're doing. And for instance, I was not aware that Jehovah's Witnesses per capita have a higher rate of suicide than the average population. Now just think about that. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, why do Jehovah's Witnesses have a higher rate of suicide? If you have the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike and I both know people who committed suicide in the organization. And then a friend of ours was telling us that his ex-wife, he was sharing with he's still friendly with his ex-wife, and he was sharing with her, our story, because we've become very good friends with he and his wife over this past year. And she opened up to him that she was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. He never knew this. He never knew that, and he never knew how her mother died. It was always sort of a hush-hush situation. And she said that her mother, who was a devout Jehovah's Witness, couldn't handle the thought of her kids not making it into the news system, so she committed suicide. And he never knew this. So it's so interesting how when you start opening up and sharing your story with people, how many stories you start hearing. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So
No, but that's why we need each other as an entire community, because you know, as much as someone who's never been a part of the organization may love you and care about you, they just don't share that common thread that you have the organization in common, that you were maybe raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Some kid who was raised as a Jehovah's Witness has a completely different life than somebody who was raised as a Catholic or Jewish or, you know, a more mainstream religion. So, you know, it's a very different lifestyle. And really, there's enough people out here who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that we really do have a community and support and people to talk to each other, you know. So it's been really good getting to see the communities out there and just to be able to reach out, talk to people in different places and hear their stories, and it's a sense of camaraderie, you know.
Yeah. So, what will the next year bring? Don't know. We hope to still be making videos, maybe sharing more personal stories. Who knows? I feel like I've held back a lot of stuff. Maybe I won't feel the need to hold back so much anymore.
Maybe our channel goes from PG rated to PG-13 rated. I don't know. We'll see. We like to keep everything really clean, but sometimes it's hard to make videos on certain topics because I'm like, I know I can't do it.
So, well, anyway, so I don't know. We have still lots to say, lots to bring to you, and stories, and you know, we really want to bring other people's stories to you. You know, people that don't want to necessarily set up their own YouTube channel, but would like to express themselves and you know, share their stories. So that's something I'm definitely hoping to do this year. And don't know what else, but you got any other thoughts?
I've got a million other thoughts. But no,
he wants to teach you what to expect when you're expecting to go into a judicial.
I was talking to Robin about it. I said, you know, I think it's going to be a project that I'm going to have to start to tackle sometime soon, although I'm really busy with other things, so I don't know. But what made me think of this is that the elders, I listened to Jonathan's full 3 videos that Mike and Kim had put up about his secretly recorded judicial meetings and stuff, and then the other one that we've just been listening to with Tyler's video, and you know, that's a 4-hour video. There's so many similarities between what the elders say at one meeting and what the elders say at the other. It's almost like they're following a playbook. So my goal is to kind of go through those videos and some of the other videos online and pull like certain topics that they always touch on, and then figure out a way to either write something or make a video about it on how to give rebuttals to the way that you know the elders are going to handle the meeting. So the joke was, you know, what to expect when you're expecting to be disfellowshipped. That was the joke title of the book. But, you know, it's something I think is really interesting, because if you know you're going to be going into an elders meeting, you may want to look at some of the other judicial videos that are online, because what happens there, it's going to happen to you. The elders really do follow a pretty standard playbook. You're not going to get a lot of surprises in the judicial meeting.
Yeah. And any like conversation that you might have one-on-one with an elder where they seem more reasonable is totally going to change when you got 3 elders.
And I would actually recommend that you not talk to a person one-on-one like that. If you think they're investigating you or they're trying to feel you out, their latest strategy, and Mike and Kim again mentioned this in a video, they will ask one of the ministerial servants to kind of befriend you, talk to you, see how things are going, and then that ministerial servant reports right back to the elders.
Yep.
So it's a little more sneaky and underhanded. It's something that is currently going on, though, so just be cautious what you say, protect yourself. If you're awake or you are having doubts, or you know, you're resenting being part of the organization, but you're staying to be with your family, and you know, you're not really happy to be there, then you really do have to keep that to yourself. Just watch who you say anything to.
Yeah, and I know that I had put out a call for people to make just like one video about their waking up story, and I just want to like, I don't think I said this at the time, but I sort of just want to put with this caveat that you are out, that you have a network of support, that you have established your life, and you know, because there may be negative consequences to making a video. And we were told by someone who used to be a ministerial servant that he was actually assigned to look on YouTube for any apostates that may be in their area that were making videos. And he said that might have been how somebody found out about you guys. Don't know. I kind of have my suspicions it's somebody else who's definitely not a ministerial servant. But either way, there is fallout. If you're going to make a video, don't think that if you're a fading person, that you can just make a video and nobody's going to find out about it, because more than likely they will. They're going to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are going to make a video, just know that and be prepared for the consequences. And maybe there's not going to be many consequences because maybe you got your whole family out. So, you know, you're not risking losing anybody.
Yeah. And I guess that's the most important thing to realize, that there are consequences for leaving, despite what anyone may say, despite that an elder may tell you, no, you can just choose to not come to the meetings. No, that's just not how it works. They're cracking down harder and harder on that. The number of people who are going to be leaving the organization has to be going up, simply because of the number of inactive people who are going to be formally released from the organization. So, you know,
we're having technical issues tonight. We ran out of memory on our camera and we had to delete some stuff. So we're trying to remember what we were talking about. But basically, Watchtower's in big trouble. And they're about to be in bigger trouble, I think. I think that there's going to be probably a class action lawsuit against them at some point. And maybe it'll happen this year. But they know they're in trouble. I think that they know that they're in trouble.
Well, there was that national ad from that law office that was circulating, and it seemed as if they were trying to establish a class action lawsuit. If you or anyone you know was, you know, abused by Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it was like a for real thing. And I'm sure that is still going on.
Right. Yeah, so, you know, if, unfortunately, for, you know, very indoctrinated Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to think that this is a form of persecution. But hopefully some of them, and if you're watching, some of you, will, you know, just start to realize that what you were told was not exactly the truth. To put it lightly, that there's a lot of things that you don't know and that have gone on for too long, that have hurt thousands of people, and you know, that it's not made up apostate lies.
I think that reminds me of a long time ago, when the NBC Dateline did the first story, the first one that I ever remember seeing was in early 2000s or something, about the Jehovah's Witnesses and protecting child abuse and stuff. And we've talked about this before in a video, I let the elders convince me that that wasn't true. So, I mean, hey, there you go. That's brainwashing for you. I allowed the elders to tell me that something I saw on a nationally televised news broadcast was inaccurate, lies, deception, and untruth. And I believed it. It kept me in the organization for a few more years. Mm-hmm. When I discovered that kind of stuff wasn't a lie, it was out. I was done. History, done. Mm-hmm. But I definitely remember feeling shocked when I saw that, feeling like this is horrible, and then feeling like, oh, apostate lies, I get it now. And if I could go back in time, I would have left then. I would have left before then. But at the first sign that I had evidence to say there's a problem here, I allowed myself to let the evidence slip away. Like, people convinced me that it wasn't true, and it was. Mm-hmm. So for all of you guys now who are hearing stories about apostates, and you have to listen to what is said and find out if it's provable. Is it provable? Can you do your research? If what is being said can be backed up by researching it, then it's time to accept that it's probably true.
Yeah, and you'll get trolls and whatever on your channel. We've certainly had our share of them. And the thing is, they cannot disprove one thing that we've talked about. Or they've never been able to prove that we were lying about anything. Mm-hmm. So they just they're just rhetoric. They'll just throw up Watchtower, ideology and doctrine and BS, but they can't, with their own mind and their own reasoning ability, break down anything that we've said and proven it false.
Right. Well, it's because we don't say anything that's not true. We research what we say.
Yeah, and if I'm not sure about something, I've actually taken stuff out of videos if I'm not sure about it. And not to say that there hasn't been something that has slipped in that wasn't 100% accurate. We do our best, but we're not intentionally out to mislead anybody. We're not trying to mislead anybody.
We're not misleading anybody.
Yeah. So, when Watchtower has to continue to change its doctrines, which they call New Light, that's a form of deception.
Well,
and why are they doing that? Why, you just have to ask yourself, why do they continue to change doctrine?
Well, just if you're a current Jehovah's Witness, just think about New Light. Think about what that means. A progressively brighter understanding about a certain topic as time goes by. That's the way they, a better, clearer understanding of a given truth. Mm-hmm. So, if you really want to investigate the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the best thing to do is start with what they're teaching you. Mm-hmm. So, what happened with the generation of 1914? As we were taught, the generation would not pass away before the end. So that generation has passed.
The Live Forever book, it absolutely will not pass away. The Reasoning book, the generation will not pass away.
Right. So when you look at the teaching and how now it talks about an overlapping generation, just compare that with their previous teaching. All research within Watchtower Bible and Tract Society literature. And then after discerning what both teachings are, you can tell me, is the old teaching same as the new one, just a brighter understanding, a more of an understanding, a clearer understanding of that past prophecy? Or has it completely changed? And if you're really honest with yourself, do the research. There's no possible way that you can say that the new understanding they have about the overlapping generations is somehow derived from this original teaching, because the two are incompatible. I mean, even look at Jesus' words in the Bible. This generation, not generations, not overlapping generations.
Well, you have to ask yourself, does this new teaching make more sense or less sense?
Thank you.
Than
Does it make
the
any
original?
sense?
Yeah, does it make more sense to you? And I mean, and just go back, do yourself a favor, just for fun and giggles. Go back to the Daniel prophecy book, the Isaiah book, the Revelation book, and look at the things that were written and how they interpreted prophecies and how they just make absolutely no sense. Especially now that we know, we have 10, 15, 20 years of history since those books were written. And we can look at how world events have happened and how now they don't even refer to those prophecies as far as being, we did a whole video on, what's that called?
The change of, typing to type.
Yeah, we did a whole video on types versus antitypes, how they don't even use antitypes anymore. So just ask yourself, does any of this make sense? How can I believe anything that they say when they've gotten it wrong so many times?
And this comes back to what we talked about a little earlier in this video, about trusting your gut. When you first heard that teaching explained by David Splain in the JW Broadcasting, did you say to yourself, what? What? Or did you go, oh yeah, that is completely understandable. I totally get where they got that from. Because if you're like me, you saw that in amazement and wondered what the heck was going on, because it was crazy. So, I mean, trust your instincts. That's where I was talking about. People's instincts have been washed away by the organization, and now it's just accept what's happening, accept the next thing that comes, accept the next thing that comes. Who knows what the next 2 years are going to bring for that organization, but the witnesses will accept whatever comes down the pipe from the the governing body, from upstate Watchtower.
Yeah.
So it's just,
I don't know. I mean, we have so many, I speculate about so many different things, and I hear, other people speculating about things, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to wrap this up because we've already rambled on long enough.
Yeah.
But we definitely wanted to say thank you to those of you who have supported us from the very beginning. Your support and encouraging words have meant so much to us over this past year. And we love you guys so much. And so if you haven't subscribed, why not subscribe? If you haven't been to our website, go to our website. We have some interesting articles that people have contributed to our website. So check those out. If you want to contribute an article, email us at whatsupwatchtower@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us, you want to talk to me on the phone or whatever, you want to chit-chat, then just email us and send me your phone number. I'll give you a call.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys, and happy 1-year anniversary.
1-year anniversary.
Woo! Bye.
Thanks.